All right, week two for the Saints preseason in 2024. Saints traveled to Santa Clara to play the 49ers. Um, they're playing the defending NFC champs. I was going into it, I didn't know what to expect. It's preseason. 49ers got backups, Saints got backups. New schemes new schemes for this new scheme for the Saints. Yeah, who knows? There's a lot of backups signed. I'm not expecting the 49ers to completely dominate. I'm not expecting the Saints to completely dominate. And you know what? Games like this happen. So I'm gonna go quarter by quarter, recapping just scores, turnovers, major events that happened. Another 0-0 first quarter in a Saints game, with this one being more impressive that it is against the Niners. I think when it comes to the first quarters, you kind of expect Shanahan to really know what he's doing in terms of scheme. It was I'll get to Brock Purdy, but playing and nobody else playing. Second quarter, Saints fullback for that specific play. Taysom Hill ran in a 1 yard touchdown. 49ers kicker Jake Moody kicked a 47-yard field goal. Saints quarterback Spencer Rattler was strip sacked by 49ers defensive end Alex Barrett, who recovers the ball at the Saints 38-yard line. Jake Moody kicked a 24-yard field goal. 49ers quarterback Joshua Dobbs ran in a 1 yard touchdown as time was expiring. And 49ers led 13-7 at halftime. So quite an eventful second quarter for as weak of a first quarter there was. Third quarter, Blake Groupie, the Saints kicker, kicked a 52-yard field goal, and Jake Moody missed a 51-yard field goal. 49ers kicker in the fourth quarter, Jake Moody, kicked a 36-yard field goal, and the Saints turned the ball over on downs at the 49ers 22-yard line with that being the potential game winning drive for the Saints. But the Saints ended up losing to 49ers 16-10. Here's just my overview of the game. The before the Saints offense takes a snap, there's a false start penalty, of course, because it wouldn't be a Saints game without a false start penalty or an offensive line penalty because, again, the discipline issues. Taysom Hill on the first offensive play that was not a penalty. He took a handoff for 8 yards. It seems to me that this might end up being a career year for Taysom Hill. I mean, I've said it for a couple years now. Taysom Hill is one of the best players on the Saints, and that's not saying the Saints have had a bad roster because even when they were going to the NFC Championship game, um, or even when they were really good, um, Taysom Hill was an X factor for this team. So he's such an important part, and I don't think other fan bases quite get that, especially people inside the division. Obviously, you're gonna have haters within the division, but I think Panthers, Buccaneers, and Falcons fans need to understand that if they had a player like Taysom Hill, how much more open their offense would be. I think if every NFL team had someone like Taysom Hill, they would be an X factor for that team, and they would be one of the most important players to that team. Taysom Hill can run the ball very well. He can run over you. He can run around you. He can block very well, being a blocking tight end, blocking wide receiver, a fullback, or a running back blocking. Um, Throwing in terms of he's not Drew Brees. He's not Josh Allen. He's not anybody like that, but he definitely can throw better than you know, some backup wide receivers that you have throwing the ball and trick plays. So, and especially with someone of his background, Taysom Hill having that quarterback background, you have to prepare for those plays. So, but you also have to prepare for him to run the ball, to catch the ball, and to play at a high level. Um, his ability to catch the ball, I think he's if you were looking at him and just calling him a tight end, even that 1 year where he was only listed as a tight end, um, he was one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, if you're only looking at him as a tight end and compiling all his stats for him being a tight end, he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL in terms of what he's able to do on a yards per play basis. Um, I do think I wish other teams had someone like Taysom Hill because I think it would make a lot of scheming more fun. Um, I know the Eagles tried to do that with Jalen Hurts when Carson Wentz played, and welcome to 2024 where Jalen Hurts is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. But yeah, I think a lot of teams should have someone like that. I think the Niners have something similar to that with Juszczyk. Juszczyk's is a solid runner. He's a great receiving fullback. I mean, you could argue he's one of the best receiving fullbacks in NFL history. Um, and then blocking, obviously, he's one of the best blocking fullbacks ever. So I mean, you have some players like that who they're do-it-all players, but Taysom Hill takes it to another level. He's one of the faster players in the NFL. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just don't understand Taysom Hill. And they look at the things he does and they're like, all right, he's just a gimmick player. But he really can run. He's really fast. When Deontay Harris was on the team, or Deontay Hardy, when Deontay Hardy was on the team, I mean, I heard rumors that he was running. He was right behind Deontay Hardy, and Deontay Hardy is one of the faster players in the entire league. Um, and on top of that, we've seen videos of him jumping over people. We've seen videos of him running over people. We've seen him juking out players, and it's insane what he can do. And he's just not a one-trick pony. He can do it all. And I haven't even talked about his special teams. I do think he's one of the best special teamers in the entire league. He's able to go down the field and tackle very well, and he's able to block punt. He's blocked a punt against the Bucks in a very important game a couple years ago. But he is a do-it-all. I'm sure if they asked him if he wanted to play defense, he probably would. And you want players like that. Some of the greatest players in NFL history were players like that. So yeah. Let's see. Let's get on to from the Taysom Hill talk. So Brock Purdy started the game with no other superstars playing and took three big hits. What's wrong with you? Um, Sam Fran, Kyle Shanahan, whoever's idea that was. Um, I can understand McCaffrey. He's got an injury. Ayuk has the contract situation. Trent Williams has the contract situation. But then there's no Kittle. There's no Debo. There's your, I mean, what was going on? There wasn't even use check, and you throw Brock Purdy out to the Wolves. Like, no wonder you guys almost every single year have injury bugs, and no wonder for years you've had injury bugs at quarterback because you do dumb things like this. So I don't know. I thought that was a stupid decision. If you're gonna have Brock Purdy, and you look, I don't think Brock Purdy is Mahomes. I also think Brock Purdy is a very he's a very above average quarterback. I'm not going to call him elite, but I do think he's above average. Especially with some of his playmaking abilities behind the line of scrimmage. I think he has shown that he is not just an average player, and he's not just a quarterback because of the talent around him. I think the talent makes him better than he should be, but I think I think he's very important to the Niners. And if he gets hurt and you put Josh Dobbs in, I don't think the Niners do near as well as they do with Purdy. So I thought it was dumb, and he took three big hits. That's your fault, 49ers. Oh well. Cedric Wilson opened up as the punt returner for the Saints. I'm not a fan of Cedric Wilson. I've never thought he was good at all. But it looks like he's probably gonna be wide receiver three on the Saints. And punt returner, Rashid Shaheed should be doing returns, but Rashid Shaheed wasn't playing in this game. So, it had me a little worried. I don't think Cedric Wilson is meant to be a return specialist for the Saints. I think there are a lot of better players who could return kicks. I would rather have Taysom Hill returning kicks. We've seen Taysom Hill return kicks, another part of Taysom Hill's game, but I digress. Um, linebacker Anthony Orgy, has looked amazing in coverage. He looks just phenomenal in coverage at linebacker. In terms of his ability to tackle, I haven't really seen all that much out of him, but in coverage, he just looks really good. And I think we could be potentially seeing a future starter for the Saints, especially if Demario Davis decides to hang it up in a couple years. Anthony Orgy, he looks really good. I think he's got a lot of potential. Um, Shane Lemieux, who I mean, I remember him signing with I remember him on the Giants. I He wasn't good. He went to center and he took one of the worst snaps I've ever seen at the NFL level. And in the process nearly got Spencer Rattler hurt. So, that has me worried about the backup offensive line. I mean, in general I've been worried about the offensive line for the Saints, but you shouldn't have someone doing that. Yeah, that was a terrible snap. I don't even know what he was doing. So I don't know. I guess try to do better next time. I don't know. Somehow it didn't end in a turnover, but it did force a third and long attempt, and there went the whole drive. So, on top of Rattler's fumble, the next drive, that happens. Rattler really didn't have a good starting point in this game. I don't think a lot of it was Rattler's fault. I think some of it was Rattler's fault, but I think most of it was the offensive line. Offensive line collapsed right on Rattler during his fumble. And I think this snap, what's Rattler going to do? He almost got hurt in the process getting the ball. So let's move on to defensive side. Rico Payton has been an intriguing cornerback. I mean, I said it last week that I think the cornerback spot looks really good, and I'm worried that Lattimore might be on the way out. And then we have this Rico Payton guy who's doing really well. Um, I mean, the depth chart right now, if I'm building the depth chart, it's Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback one, cornerback two is um Paulson Adebo, cornerback three is Adebo Ta is Alante Taylor. Cornerback four for the time being is Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think Kool-Aid looks very good though. I think there's a very strong possibility he goes to cornerback three. And then Rico Payton. Um, he looks really good. I mean, I wrote down here they could push for cornerback four. He really could push for cornerback five. With if you have those four, if Lattimore ends up traded or cut or something, then yeah, he's cornerback four. Um, he's fighting against Rajon Wright, and if I might butcher that name. He has looked terrible. He's allowed multiple big plays the last few weeks. I don't see a scenario where he makes the roster. If he made the roster, I'd be very disappointed. Um, if he made the roster, it's because Lattimore got traded or someone got hurt. Defensive line, Defensive linemen were constantly missing hits on the quarterbacks, whether that was Dobbs, Purdy, or the third string quarterback. They were talking about his name. I forget what his name is. I apologize for that. That was the quarterback who battled Rattler in college. It's I don't remember. But no matter who was at the 40 at quarterback for the 49ers, Saints D line couldn't get any couldn't they could get pressure, but they were missing tackles. They were missing so many sacks that could have happened. And I was very disappointed in the defensive line. I would think I was more disappointed in the defensive line for this game than the offensive line. And that's saying something because I've been disappointed in this offensive line for a while now. Penalties were not as big of an issue um, in general in this game. I know we started the game with a false start penalty, but and on the final drive there was a penalty, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, in week one, it was a big deal. That was something I saw all last year, but this game, not really as bad. Um, but the offensive line still was not able to protect anyone at quarterback, or running with the ball. The offensive line just looked terrible no matter what. And the Niners didn't even have any of their starters playing. So there's that. Jake Hayner looked more composed in this game, but I didn't think I saw any improvement out of him. I think he's quarterback three. I think the issues that Rattler has is based off of the talent around him. And I think if you throw Rattler with Alvin Kamara, with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill, Jawan Johnson, if something were to happen to Derek Carr, I think he would be fine compared to Hayner. Hayner yes, he looks more comfortable, but I haven't seen any improvement in his game. He's still making some of his throws are off target, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hayner, I just, he's very athletic. I think his arm is okay. I think he shows highlights where he's got a strong arm, but also inaccurate at times. So yeah, I think he should be quarterback three. He might start the year quarterback two just because he knows the offense or he knows the team more than Rattler does. And Rattler in this game didn't show anything, but like I said before, it had to do with a lot of what was going on around him. So then Isaiah Foskey has been a no-show so far. I have not heard a word of him at camp, and in both preseason games, nothing. So well, I am taking that as right now Cameron Jordan, Chase Young are playing opposites of one another, and there's not much young depth on this team. Peyton Turner has been lackluster. He's shown some sparks here and there. That's it. At this point, I think that if the Saints were to switch to a 3-4 defense, let's hypothetically speaking, let's say a hypothetical scenario. Dennis Allen gets fired, new head coach comes in, has everybody to work with. That's not going to happen, but has everybody that we currently have on the team but switches to a 3-4. That way, Kalen Saunders is probably playing nose tackle, Brissy and what's his name from the Jets? Um, Nathan Shepard. They're playing the defensive tackle positions, and the edge rushers are Cameron Jordan, Chase Young. I think Chase Young would thrive. I don't know if Cameron Jordan would. Cameron Jordan is more of a 4-3 defensive end. He's spoken openly about that. Uh, and but he had a bad year last year. I hope he does better this year. I'm rooting for him. Cameron Jordan's an awesome player. He's one of my favorite defensive players ever. And I'm so happy to have watched him play. It's just he took a step back. I really hope that's not a career step back. I hope that's just I had a bad year. I can improve. So, but anyway, you get to a 3-4 defense. Maybe Cameron Jordan plays edge rusher. I heard he lost some weight. Also would probably benefit him in a 3-4 defense. And then having linebackers, Demario Davis, Pete Warner, looks fantastic. I think that looks better than the defense we currently have. I mean, we have three defensive tackles that look really well that you want to rotate, but this defensive line isn't that type of defense to rotate. So I don't know. The objective is to create more pressure. I think the best, I mean, I said it on the Eagles video. I said it on other videos that I love a five-man D line, and I think a five-man D line would benefit the Saints a lot. Um, I think they already got all the components to a five-man D line. I just don't think they have the speed at edge rusher. So, but I mean, that can easily be improved. That is something that if you do rotate your edge rushers and throw in Peyton Turner and throw in Isaiah Foskey, that they could benefit from. So, yeah, I mean, that's my take on the defense. And yeah, the offensive line looks doesn't look good. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not I think I'll talk more in my season prediction video of what I expect out of the Saints this year. It's not a lot. I mean, I'm not expecting Derek Carr in a new. I mean, I expect a lot better out of Derek Carr. I still want to see Derek Carr old, but I'm not expecting MVP candidate Derek Carr to come back. But I do want to see 4,000 yard, 30 plus touchdown Derek Carr to come back. So hopefully with this new scheme that brings him out of his shell and it benefits for him. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl, uh, and I would like to, but I think with some of the players, I think we have a lot of talent. I think the defense is really good. I think this defense paired with a much better offense can handle winning a Super Bowl. I mean, you have cornerbacks galore. This is one of the deepest cornerback groups in terms of youth and potential talent that I've seen as a Saints fan. Um, and the safeties, that's probably an issue this year. Tyrann Mathieu is getting older. Um, Still playing Jonathan Abram, which I'm just not a fan of. We don't really even know who our safety next to Mathieu is going to be. Um, I mean, May looked disappointing, and that's why the Saints got rid of Marcus May. And but otherwise, the defense looks is talented enough to win a Super Bowl. If you paired that defense with some of the best offenses in the league, yeah, they can win a Super Bowl. The offense is just the issue. Alvin Kamara is great. Taysom Hill's great. Chris Olave is great. Rashid Shaheed is showing a lot of promise. Juwan Johnson, in at his peak, is one of the better tight ends, athletically speaking, in the entire league. Issue is the offensive line, and uh, can Derek Carr take that leap? Can he take an MVP step? I don't know. I don't know if he can do that, but I am rooting for him. I was a big fan of Derek Carr when he was on the Raiders, and I'm very supportive of him on the Saints. But yeah, that's my small little, I guess, prediction is for the year. And yeah, I'll see you next week, uh, for week 3 of the preseason.